Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1991 Ford Festiva. Up front is a 1.6 liter inline 4, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission.
This video is sponsored by CarMarshal.com. If you'd like to support the channel, click the link down in the description below. CarMarshal.com advertises for over 100,000 vehicles across the US.
But let's get back to that 1.6 liter inline 4. Now, the eagle-eyed viewers out there will notice that is not a Ford badge on top of this motor. This car has actually had an engine swap done. So this is a 1.6 liter out of a Mazda 323 of a similar era, late 80s, early 90s. And so we'll get into it a lot more. This is essentially a Mazda. I know it has Ford badges. This was a concoction of Mazda, Ford, and Kia all coming together to make one little car. And so to put a 1.6 liter out of a 323 instead of the factory 1.3 liter 4-cylinder that was carbureted, you don't really have to do much. It's nearly a bolt-in swap. But a couple advantages of the 1.6 liters, of course, you're gonna have more power, more torque. The original 1.3 liter carbureted motor made about 60 horsepower, maybe. This is making a lot more than that. Also, it is fuel injected. Some say that they are easier to find parts for. This car was actually totaled out, but then one of the previous owners decided to resurrect it with a junkyard Mazda 323 engine, and so this car lives on because that was just the motor that he found, and it bolted right into the chassis. It's a pretty common swap to do. Another common swap for Festivas like this is the Mazda 1.6 and 1.8 liter out of the Miata. So Miata motors nearly bolt into these. You're gonna have to change a couple things, but a very, very common swap is a BP from a Mazda Miata, first or second gen. Although I would love to see one of these with a Duratec out of a NC Miata. I guess I just have to keep wishing. All right, let's get some revs here. This thing is not fast. This is not a fast car. However, it's zippy, it's fun, it's quick, and honestly, it kind of feels like a D-Series Honda motor. It sort of almost has, not quite, but it almost has that gimme, gimme, gimme more sort of, it wants you to rev it. It actually has fun at the top end. It enjoys 4,000 RPM. It enjoys 5,000 RPM. It's buzzy, it's quick. I like that a lot. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. The clutch is nice and light. The shifting feel is nice and light. But the interesting thing is that it doesn't feel like a modern economy car where if you breathe weird, you can move the shifter. Modern economy cars are so numb with their shifts, but this isn't. It feels solid. It feels mechanical. The clutch is super light, but that's just because it's really, really tiny. You know, it's smaller than a dinner plate. But speaking of transmissions, there was a 4-speed manual offered in the Festiva, as well as a 3-speed automatic. And last but not least, about the drivetrain in the Festiva, it is, of course, front-wheel drive. I know this isn't normally part of my reviews, but I do have to turn around. So let's see, turning radius. Not as tight as I was expecting, actually. I'm gonna have to back up here. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 gauges, a tachometer and a speedometer. I really like both of them. They're really reminiscent of my RX-7. I think that's kind of why I like them. But they're very easy to read. They are amber, and what I find really funny is that the speedometer actually has 55 miles an hour circled. So this is still the era where the US really wanted to crack down on speeding, so some speedometers only went up to 55, some had like a dash or a line or an arrow pointing to 55 because that was the highest national speed limit at the time. I just think that that's funny. I really like them. They're analog, but they look really cool in my opinion. Then below the gauges, I do have defroster and a rear wiper, which is interesting. And then on the steering wheel, I have nothing but 2 horn buttons. This is a very, very 90s steering wheel. Then to my left, I do have a dimmer switch straight out of my RX-7. And then on the door, I have nothing but manual windows. Now, the interesting thing is that this is a very small car. I think that's going to become very apparent later on in the video. I have so much leg room. I feel like I could tap dance because there's no thick door card for power windows. I have so much leg room. And honestly, it has more leg room than my RX-7. I know I keep comparing it because they're similar era, essentially Mazda products. It's so amazing. I can get so comfortable in this thing if I really wanted to. In the middle, we do have two air conditioning vents, heating and air conditioning. Down below the vents, we have heating and air conditioning controls. Very bare bones basic here. I mean, it's 1991. It's nothing spectacular, but they do function. And air conditioning was a very rare option. This car actually does not have it. So if you find a Festiva with air conditioning, that's a rare find. You might want to hold on to that. Then, of course, an aftermarket radio, because every radio from the 90s was absolute garbage. And, of course, then we come down to the shifter. The shifter's mounted to the floor, so naturally it's pretty flippin' tall, although it doesn't really feel out of place. I like it a lot, and the shift boot is obviously dated, but it's not bad. Then we come to the seats. The seats are nice and comfortable. They match the door cards. I really like the look of them. I think overall they're really comfortable, and honestly, I might look into swapping these into my RX-7. I think they're actually really plush and nice. But speaking of seats, we do have a back seat. So let's do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 1991 Ford Festiva. There's no real place to mount the GoPro, so I'm holding it. But honestly, the back seats are not that bad. I do have the seat moved up just a little bit, but honestly, look at the legroom here, and here isn't that bad either. The seats are nice and comfortable. I literally get no amenities. I mean, no amenities. The nice thing is that these windows actually do pop out. And actually what some people have done is they've taken the motors out of the pop-out windows of the Ford Windstar minivan, and then they put them into these to make them motorized. These are not motorized. This doesn't have that mod, but it's honestly not that bad of a back seat. You could totally fit 4 people in here pretty easily and honestly pretty comfortably. For an economy car, for a small little car, these back seats get a double thumbs up for sure.
Okay, before we get any further, I wanted to talk about the Festiva's formation because I think it's actually quite interesting, so I headed into the kitchen to explain more. The Festiva was designed by Mazda, manufactured by Kia, and sold by Ford, which explains the door sticker as well as the Made in Korea sticker under the hood. The car was also then sold as the Kia Pride, Mazda 121, and the Ford Festiva in other markets.
Now we gotta talk about the look. It's a little Festiva. That is really all I could say. It's not a particularly striking car. However, it has a short wheelbase and it does weigh about 1,800 pounds. So that paired to a Mazda Miata possible motor, you might have yourself quite the little vehicle. I think I must have gone through some form of trauma or something as a child, because I just think all late 80s cars look good. Actually, all 80s cars. I don't know why I specified late. I think all 80s cars look cool, look good. And I just think these cars look cool. I know that's my own personal opinion, and I know 99.9% of other people will disagree with me. But I don't know. I just think it has a little cool, unique little look to it. It's so cute. That's what I keep saying every time I walk up to it. It's so cute. But overall, I really like this little thing. And the best part about these cars is now, what, coming up on 30 years later. This car is coming up on 30 years old. You could pick up these cars for literally next to nothing. If you wanted to get into autocross, you could get into one of these with a decent setup for under $1,000, for sure. The owner, Rick, which thank you, Rick, so much for letting me review your Festiva, he was telling me you could pick up cars for $300, $400, $500. Think about it. If you have a $1,000 budget, half of your budget, less than half of your budget, is going to be the actual car itself. That's pretty nutty. I think these are great bang for your buck cars, and I think the biggest reason I think that is because, yes, it's a little economy car, whatever, but it doesn't feel like it's not numb, is what I'm getting at. Modern economy cars, let's just say the Toyota Yaris, let's just say the Kia Rio, let's just say the Ford Fiesta, they're numb. I don't get any road feel. I don't get any shift feel, if you can even still find a manual version. But this, I get the road feel. I feel things in this car, and that's what's missing from modern economy cars, is that you don't feel anything anymore. They just make you numb. If you're buying economy cars, you probably don't have a whole lot of money to start off with, and you're already pretty numb to the world. I don't know why the car has to make it feel more numb, but this does not feel numb. I feel connected to the road. I'm having fun. It's a buzzy little engine. I'm banging it off rev limiter. I'm shifting gears. I feel everything. And that is what I love about this little car. It's little, it's cheap, it's rusty, it's not that powerful, but it makes you feel. And I absolutely love that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Rick for letting me take out his Festiva. This thing is totally cool. It's fun, it's zippy, and honestly, I cannot get over the price, and I can't get over the feel. It all works together. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys. Aside from my soul, aside